This is why you should never trust strangers you meet on vacation. When Ben and Louise Dalton take a trip to Italy with their daughter Agnes, they befriend a charming British family that persuades them to visit their remote country estate in England. And the Daltons are hesitant to accept the invitation at first, but they decide it might just be the trip they need. But once they get to Patty and Kira's remote, secluded farmstead, far away from anyone and everything they've ever known, Ben, Louise, and Agnes discover that who they thought this British family was on vacation isn't exactly who they are at home. And over the course of the trip, they spot several red flags, but each time Patty assures them that there is good reason for his unique behavior. But when the daughter Agnes discovers that something evil is about to happen to the family, they've had enough. But it might just be too late. But if you want to know what happens next, you'll need to check out Speak No Evil in theaters now.
Okay, so are we gonna die in 8 minutes? Okay, so the sun may have exploded and we wouldn't even know it for at least 8 minutes. Light from the sun takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds to hit Earth. Meaning if the sun suddenly blew up, we actually wouldn't know for that period of time. This is because light travels faster than anything else and we wouldn't be able to hear an explosion from space. While this can cause a lot of anxiety, our sun will never explode. It doesn't have enough mass to create a supernova. A star needs to have a mass of 10 times that of our sun in order for it to explode. If the sun were to explode, it would take around 134 days for the shockwave to reach Earth. But the neutrinos and radiation travel at the speed of light and would reach us in 8 minutes and we would all die. So realistically, we can all die in 8 minutes at any given time in our life, because we would have no idea that the sun exploded in that time. This is extremely scary, not only because we would all die, but because it's completely out of anyone's control.
Celebrities who changed their looks after becoming the famous Doja
But
Cat.
the thing is, like,
Before.
it's like a peekaboo to, like, what's next. So, like, once you see it from the front, like,
And now.
Who made it? Wow. Wow. Okay, so something a little different. So, what was your inspiration for tonight?
Sam Smith.
The
Before.
more, you would have thought the more that you travel, the more okay you get with flying, but I'm finding it really hard.
And now. Melanie Martinez. Before. And now.
This is a sneak peek that nobody knows about. So people have been asking about the Crybaby perfume restock, and we can't do that just because the manufacturer doesn't exist anymore.
She set her husband's private on fire after he cheated on her. Virginie Narayan lived in Adelaide, Australia with her husband Satish Narayan. They got married in July of 1986 and had a typical arranged Hindu marriage. Within that month, Satish had started to physically and verbally abuse Virginie. Virginie felt like this was all of her fault and she deserved how he was treating her. Virginie kept thinking to herself, if only she was the perfect wife, this wouldn't be happening to her. This would go on throughout their whole relationship. In December of 2008, Virginie found out that Satish was having an affair with another woman. As they were laying in bed together, she decided she was going to confront him about the allegations. Satish did nothing to console Virginie, who was hurt, frustrated, and angry. Instead, he called her a fat B-word. At that moment, Virginie lost control. She doused him in gasoline and lit his private area on fire with an angel candle that a fortune teller had gave her. With doing this, Satish lost his life. Virginie claimed that she didn't intend to unalive Satish. She just wanted to purify his private area and to stop the affair with the other woman. Virginie was acquitted of murder, convicted of manslaughter, and sentenced to 6 years in prison. The Supreme Court ended up overturning the verdict and released her on a 3-year, $1,000 good behavior bond.
So these videos of Diddy with Justin Bieber when he was only 15 years old are resurfacing, and the one thing that I want to ask is,
Why was a 40-year-old hanging around with a 15-year-old? Why did no one think that was an issue or a red flag? And also, listen to what he says in this clip.
They're having the times of their lives, like you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. You know, I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So and we gonna go full crazy.
I'm going crazy.
Crazy.
I'm taking this out tonight.
What you want to do? What you want to do over the next 48 hours?
This is literally the definition of grooming. And Justin, who was only 15 here, he was new to the industry and definitely very impressionable. Now that all these new allegations of Diddy have been exposed, it makes watching this video so much more disturbing. Now, this next video of Justin Bieber with Trey Songz and Odell Beckham years ago at one of Diddy's parties is questionable. I'm not gonna say anything, but you let me know what you think you saw down here.
Top 5 most Christian countries in the world by highest percentage of Christian adherents. Russia 73.6, United States 79.5, Brazil 90.2, Philippines 93.1, Mexico 95.
These are the top 5 craziest things revealed by this year's unprecedented global droughts. So at number 5 is the creepy hunger stones in Germany and Czech Republic. They were used to mark desperately low river levels and forecast famines. This one from 1616 says, "If you see me, cry." In 4th place is Hitler's Black Sea Fleet, which sank in 1944. A whopping 10,000 explosive devices were found hidden within the exposed wreckages. In 3rd place, we've seen the extreme drought over in China reveal 3 ancient Buddha statues that are estimated to be over 600 years old. In 2nd place, and moving over to the USA, the droughts in Texas have revealed unbelievably well-preserved dinosaur footprints that date back more than 100 million years. And then the number 1 wildest thing that these droughts are exposing is a whole lot of dead bodies. Now, there's been reports of dead bodies being found in drying lakes around the world, but none more than in Lake Mead near Las Vegas. So far, there has been 4 separate discoveries, one of which was the body of a man found crammed inside a rusting metal barrel. Experts are predicting that dozens, if not hundreds more, might be found.
A gang of vicious otters attacked an innocent jogger and left her hospitalized. The 8 hungry beasts charged through a recreation park looking for...
How you nearly get packed up by a group of otters? I seen a lot of comments saying that, you know, making fun of the woman, and you know me, I'm not gonna miss a chance to spread the gospel on this malicious, mame-happy tube warrior with teeth. Y'all know about the honey badger, an aggressive bull-cut bully weasel, a certified felony ferret with an alleged affinity for ball biting, a homicidal mobile Oreo that fades venomous snakes as a side hustle. Call it an erectile dysfunction the way they could put a snake out of order. There was one honey badger who nearly got census subtracted by a group of lions, spent weeks in an animal ER just to get released and immediately try to run it back fresh out. We been knew this bush weasel is a literal manifestation of a walking middle finger, but imagine if they were a little more intelligent, ran in packs, and could run fades on land or water. Well, I just described why you otter put respect on this furry halo effect of salt sausage. Otters are in the same family as wolverines and honey badgers. They're just social and considered more intelligent. And believe me, a river otter on its own is already a cell block D menace. I couldn't even tell you what crime's getting committed here. And they're a whole lot less cute when you've seen them massacre a monkey at a zoo. That is a Jujutsu Kaisen level jumping with a waterboarding for dessert. Then you got the fact that otters in the Amazon can grow to 6 feet long, and I'm an honest 5'11". And you can kind of see how a hydrodynamic hood-affiliated honey badger can attitude adjust a jaguar. Look at that, all gas, just in reverse, dead ass like a donkey in a hearse. So before you go making fun of this woman, understand that gang violence is not a laughing matter, especially when it's Otter Mafia.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. Sometimes you laugh, talk, and cry in sleep. It's often a spirit sitting beside you in bed. You are more likely to be bitten by someone in New York than to be bitten by a shark. A human head remains conscious for 20 seconds after being decapitated. If you search up this number on Google, you'll find people with their heads in fridges. Gelatin is made out of bones. That's right. The melted marshmallow in your hot chocolate is melted animal bone. It's good stuff. You have no way of really knowing if everyone experiences reality and consciousness the same way you do. If a panda finds a fresh carcass, they'll eat it. And last but not least, your phone is likely spying on you right now as you're watching this. Yeah, there's a lot more. Like for part 8.
The theory is the Teletubbies are based on a group of mentally ill children that were abused and killed in a Bulgarian mental facility, infamously known as La La Land, in the 1960s. Each Teletubby character is based on one of these unfortunate children. Lala was inspired by a child who suffered from a severe facial disfigurement that forced her to smile constantly. Her unsettling appearance and tragic life were softened into the playful, happy character seen on the show. Tinky Winky represents a deaf child who was cruelly tied to a fence outside the facility, left to suffer in the freezing cold until he developed severe frostbite. His tragic story was turned into that of the large purple Teletubby, known for carrying a bag that seems to symbolize his isolation. Dipsy was based on a malnourished child who was so sick that he spent days lying in his own vomit, forgotten by the facility's staff. His pale green color and slightly sickly demeanor in the show are said to reflect this horrifying past. Po, the smallest and reddest of the Teletubbies, was actually inspired by a child who fell into a fire, resulting in severe burns that permanently scarred her, hence why her Teletubby color is red.
Here are 3 of the most disturbing facial reconstructions and the chilling backstories behind them. But before we get started, I did make a YouTube channel for everybody who requested. If you want to subscribe, the link is right in the bio. Alright, let's get into it. Number 1. The Irondequoit Jane Doe. Found buried in a shallow grave in New York State, the manner of death was ruled as suspicious, but there were no signs of trauma found on her body. Once found, her remains were so badly decomposed that it's suspected she may have been buried there for up to 30 years before being uncovered. Number 2. The Philadelphia Teen. Discovered to have been shot and possibly burned, his remains were found near the railroad tracks in Philadelphia in 1977, and he was the victim of a horrific homicide. To this day, he has never had any friends or family that have come forward to claim his identity, and he remains unknown. Number 3. The Swimsuit Boy. He is one of the only unidentified bodies to come from the Dean Corll serial killings. Discovered buried beneath the shed, among others, his remains were wearing a multicolored swimsuit, hence the name. And it's not at all that this is a bad reconstruction. It's actually unsettling to me because it's pretty good. When you're looking at it, it's almost like the eyes are looking right back at you. It's that realistic. But what makes it all that more eerie is that it's linked to a missing boy that no one has ever claimed.
And this was the moment she was caught poisoning her husband. Not once, not twice, but multiple times. It all started when U.S. Air Force employee Roby Johnson was stationed in Germany back in March of 2023. With him was his wife Melody Johnson, who had filed for divorce, but they still lived together while it was being finalized. He began noticing that his morning cup of coffee was tasting a bit weird, but continued on drinking it for around 3 weeks. He eventually decided to test it with a pull test strip, and it showed high levels of chlorine. That is when he launched his own internal investigation and caught her in the act. She was caught multiple times on video pouring bleach into his coffee maker. Now, he didn't want to raise any alarms in Germany, so he waited, kept pretending to drink the coffee until they were back in Arizona in June. While back at the Air Force Base, he recorded her doing it yet again and reported it to police. Now, they told him the evidence wasn't quite clear enough, so he decided to enhance his setup. More and better cameras disguised as smoke alarms, which caught her clear as day. She was arrested, and he fully believes that she was out to get his life insurance money. Imagine living with someone for months knowing that they are actively trying to kill you.
Horrifying Urban Legends Part 1. This, my friends, is La Llorona, also known as the Weeping Woman. She's the frightening figure of a heartbroken woman who drowned her kids in a river and is now damned for eternity to find their bodies. If you hear her cry, it's already too late.
Times when companies dissed others, Part 3. In 2001, Coca-Cola announced they sold 4 more times than Pepsi. So Pepsi, being salty, decided to create this whole ad of a boy going to a vending machine, getting 2 Cokes from the vending machine, just so he can stand on the cans and get a Pepsi. They are honestly ruthless for this. Next, in 2014, Mercedes made a commercial showing how a chicken can keep their head still while their bodies move, saying Mercedes can do the same thing with their car stability. However, the car company Jaguar saw this and decided to make almost the exact same commercial. But at the end, a jaguar straight up destroys the chicken. That's cruel.
This gymnast forgets to salute to the judges, and they get very butthurt about that. So the gymnast lands it well, but now is the point where he should salute to the judges, but he forgets that. And this is what the judges do. As you can see, they took it really personally. Do you think he can be forgiven?
2024 just got even crazier, part 16. Firstly, a Canadian man who was about to go on an upcoming camping trip used Google Maps to see the area that he was going to be camping. Well, while on Google Maps, the man discovered this, and experts believe that the man just discovered a very possible ancient meteor impact while on Google Maps. The fact that he found this using Google Maps is wild. Next, also in Canada, a woman who was at a barbecue started playing with these water guns with a child. Well, while playing with the water guns, she accidentally sprayed the neighbor who was cutting grass next door. Well, the man got angry and called the police, and somehow the woman was charged with assault with a weapon. Finally, a 57-year-old man was about to have burgers when the burgers were frozen together. So he got a kitchen knife to separate the burgers, but while he tried to separate them, he accidentally stabbed himself and the man unfortunately passed away. RIP, this is horrible.
Whatever you do, do not look up what this guy did. Now, you may know this guy, TJ Lane. He did a horrific school shooting back in 2012. You probably don't know what then happened when he went to court. For one, you can see him with little to no remorse in the court, smirking, smiling, along with a shirt he was wearing which had the word killer written on it. His lawyer then whispered to him to basically make a statement and tell him what to say. When TJ then said something you would never imagine after doing this, he basically said, "This hand that unalived your families now pleasures to the memory." I can't show the video of this for obvious reasons and I can't talk too much about it on here, but the full video is on my YouTube link in my bio. But what this guy did is absolutely horrific, and the fact he then went and did that in court as well, like, what is wrong with people?
It is almost unbelievable, but the world's first VR headset that literally kills you if you die in the game has just been created. The man who invented it, Palmer Luckey, is a leader in VR, a government contractor, and the creator of Meta's Oculus headset. So this is the real deal. The headset is hooked up to 3 explosive charge modules that sit above the screen. The charges are aimed directly at the user's forebrain, and should they go off, would obliterate the head of the user. He said he created it because only the threat of serious consequences can make the game feel real to you and every other person in the game. He even says that he wants to work on an anti-tampering model that cannot be removed or destroyed. So if you decide to put it on, there is no bloody going back. Thankfully, this headset is not commercially available yet.
So why do these places make you feel that way? These are called liminal spaces. They are literally the threshold between 2 realities. For example, a rest stop is a place between where you started and where you're going. These places are not meant for you to stay in very long. So you feel a sensation of reality shifting when you stay in those places for longer than you normally would. The same goes for schools during summer break or laundromats at night, and I think you got my point.
How to summon the Ceiling Man. It is said that if the Ceiling Man finds you worthy, he'll grant you a wish. If deemed unworthy, he'll curse you with depression and a lot more. To summon the Ceiling Man, we'll have to get a mirror. The mirror will be need to placed on the floor in an empty room. Make sure you're seeing the reflection of the ceiling in the mirror when placed on the floor. With a lamp or candle, you say the words, "Ceiling Man, I am worthy," 20 times. The Ceiling Man will eventually appear in the mirror. You look into the mirror and you say, Feeling man, I am ready for my wish. You wait for a voice that says, be careful, if the feeling man finds you unworthy, your face will look like this in the mirror, disoriented. Should I summon the feeling man tonight on live?
Does a photo like this make you feel uncomfortable? Or something like this? This phenomenon is known as the Uncanny Valley. Introduced by Masahiro Mori in the 1970s, the Uncanny Valley refers to a phenomenon where our brains can register that something is very close to human, but we're also aware that something's not quite right. It's the in-between, where we can process that something looks like a person, but it's not a person, and it causes feelings of distress. Believed to be an evolutionary mechanism, which is also not exclusive to just humans, the Uncanny Valley is where we perceive these things to be a threat or not of us, and it can cause feelings of panic. One of the most well-known modern examples of this was actually an early test screening of Shrek in 2000, where Fiona was rendered as very hyper-realistic. So realistic that it surpassed the threshold of comfort and cartoon and moved into the Uncanny Valley. Children actually became so panicked at this screening, they were reported to be crying at the movie anytime she came on the screen. The entire film had to be halted and she was re-rendered. I'm not sure if this was the actual earliest version of Fiona that made it to the screening, but to put this in context, the one that made it to worldwide theaters is right above. But I did happen to find this monster from some of the early test footage of Shrek. The Uncanny Valley is still a widely unstudied phenomenon, but it continues to become more and more pervasive in entertainment as well as our modern animation.
Disturbing facts you didn't want to hear, part 2. Many doctors say that the most common last words they hear are, "I don't feel so good." Most laugh tracks you hear in TV shows were recorded in the 1950s, meaning that the people you hear laughing are probably dead. During the French Revolution, it was said that the guillotine had to be used multiple times to get the job done. The reason that planes shut off their lights right before they land is so that passengers' eyes can adjust to the dark just in case there's a crash. This is so if the power goes out during the crash landing, they can better find an escape route.